Jaqen H'ghar is a puzzling fellow. Our story begins with him in the Black Cells. After being given to the Night's Watch, he begins a journey to the Wall with Rorg and Biter, his companions of Black and White. But then he and his companions are freed, and he joins Sir Amory's men. He eventually abandons Amory, Rorg, and Biter, and we find him lingering in Oldtown. So what on earth is Jaqen up to? And does it have anything to do with the House of Black and White's other plans? Well, let's start at the end with the riddle of Oldtown. In the prologue of A Feast for Crows, we find a man claiming to be an alchemist wanting to make a deal with the acolyte Pate. Pate is desperate. He's in love with the servant girl Rosie and wants a gold dragon so he can buy the right to take her virginity. Now we know that the alchemist is Jaqen H'ghar. The description that Arya gives at the end of A Clash of Kings matches that of the alchemist. Full cheeks, a hook nose, tight black curls, and a scar on his right cheek. Now Jaqen is willing to provide the gold dragon that Pate desperately needs in exchange for a key that Archmaester Walgrave has. Each Archmaester of the Citadel has a key that opens any door in the Citadel. However, Walgrave's key is unique in that his key is not kept on his body, and Walgrave is senile enough not to know the key is missing. And Pate is the perfect man to get this key, as Pate is Walgrave's assistant. Now all of this information about the Citadel, Walgrave, his key, and Pate is incredibly detailed. Jaqen must know generally how the Citadel functions. He must know that Walgrave's key was not on his body, and he must know that Walgrave is senile. He must know of Pate's love for Rosie, and know his feelings of desperation. The amount of spying necessary to gain all of this information is pretty immense. In fact, there's evidence that Jaqen went even further with his scheming. Rosie is 15 years old and supposedly just had her first period. That's awfully late. And Rosie is the one that introduced Jaqen to Pate, meaning Jaqen approached Rosie first. It seems quite likely that Rosie's first flowering is a lie, and her flirting with Pate is feigned. Considering the Quill and Tankard doubles as a brothel, I'm going to assume that these serving women are used to lying to men. So it seems likely that Jaqen paid Rosie to flirt with Pate, lie about her maidenhead, and establish a need for Pate to get a gold dragon. Then Jaqen had Rosie introduce Pate to him so he could offer him the needed money. Jaqen has gone through a lot of trouble. In fact, it's so much trouble that it's puzzling why Jaqen just didn't steal the key himself. However, the key only seems to be part of Jaqen's plan. Jaqen gives Pate a poisoned gold dragon, which Pate bites, and Pate dies. Killing Pate seems to be something that Jaqen planned from the beginning. After all, Rosie's price was a gold dragon, and people bite gold coins to check if they're real. Of course, if Jaqen's mission were just about theft, there's little reason to actually kill Pate. So there must be something more. And sure enough, at the end of A Feast for Crows, we find Jaqen impersonating Pate and hanging out with Archmaester Marwyn. We know that the Pate that Sam meets is not the Pate of the prologue, as this Pate doesn't know to call obsidian dragonglass, something that the real Pate did, and this Pate is fine being called a pig boy, something the real Pate hated. So I would say there are 4 big mysteries with regard to Jaqen in Oldtown. Number 1. What was Jaqen trying to obtain with Walgrave's key? Number 2. Now that he's got Walgrave's key, why is he still in Oldtown? Why hasn't he taken whatever's been locked up? Number 3. Why was Jaqen spending time with Marwyn? And number 4. How did he get to spend time with Marwyn? After all, why would Marwyn let a fuck-up acolyte like Pate into his company? Marwyn's other helper is Sorella, a super genius go-getter. So why Pate? So what was Jaqen trying to obtain with Walgrave's key? Well, obviously this could be anything, but the only item we ever hear about being locked up in the Citadel is a copy of Blood and Fire, a tomb with secret knowledge about dragons. With dragons back in the world, this is certainly a valuable and useful item. However, if this was Jaqen's goal, why is he still in Oldtown? He could have easily stolen that book and been on his way. Jaqen's ultimate goal seems to be related to Archmaester Marwyn and has not yet been achieved. However, this Tomb of Fire and Blood may be the explanation on how Jaqen got into Marwyn's service. Jaqen could have used the key to unlock the book to study up on dragons. Then, proving himself knowledgeable and useful, he could have gotten into Marwyn's inner circle. But why get into Marwyn's inner circle? What does Marwyn have? Clearly it wasn't for Marwyn himself, as Jaqen didn't care too much when Marwyn ran off to Slaver's Bay. No, it seemed to be for something that Marwyn possessed, and the obviously valuable thing that Marwyn possesses is a working glass candle. So it could be that Jaqen researched the Citadel, Walgrave, and Pate in order to get Walgrave's key and take Pate's place. Then, as Pate, Jaqen used the key to get access to special books, research dragons, and use the knowledge to impress Marwyn. Once in Marwyn's good graces, Jaqen achieved access to Marwyn's great possession, his glass candle. But really, we're still back at square one. If Jaqen wanted a key to get a book, to get knowledge, to get respect, to get access to a glass candle, who or what is Jaqen trying to find with that glass candle? Well, Jaqen is a faceless man, and he should be trying to find a target to kill. But if so, what target is so hard to find that he needs a glass candle? Well, let's go back to Jaqen in A Clash of Kings and look for ideas on who his target could be. Jaqen begins his story in the Black Cells with his companions Rorg and Biter, who appear loyal to Jaqen. If Jaqen has a target and Rorg and Biter are there to assist him, his target must be an impressive one. After all, Rorg and Biter are strong, brutish monsters. They are essentially killing machines. And Rorg does know about tracking. Jaqen's target, if the same target from Oldtown, must be formidable. He's hard to kill and hard to find. Now, Jaqen, Rorg, and Biter are in the Black Cells for some reason. We aren't sure if they were caught or if they wanted to be there, but Jaqen's expertise points to the intentional. But why be in the Black Cells, and possibly for months at that? Well, it seems that the only way out of the Black Cells is to join the Night's Watch, and if Jaqen was intentionally in the Black Cells, it seems like Jaqen intended to make a trip to the Wall. This means that Jaqen's target could be along the King's Road, at the Wall, or north of the Wall. Now, there are a lot of hard-to-find characters that are in this area. Howland Reed, for example. And there are a lot of hard-to-kill characters that are in this area. Dagmar Cleftjaw, for example. But really, when I think about it, there's only one character that's extremely formidable and extremely elusive. Only one character would really justify the combined efforts of Jaqen, Rorg, and Biter, and justify months of sitting in the Black Cells. And only one character would really justify the extensive lengths that Jaqen goes to gain access to a glass candle. And that character is Bloodraven. Yeah, that's right, this shit just got real. But what evidence do we have that Bloodraven is the target? And who would even know that Bloodraven exists? Well, the most obvious group that would want Bloodraven dead are Aegon supporters, Varys, Illyrio, and the Golden Company. The Golden Company was of course founded by Bloodraven's greatest rival, Bittersteel. And while we don't know for sure if Aegon is actually a Blackfyre, he's certainly supported by Blackfyres, like House Peak and House Heddle. I discussed this Blackfyre connection to Aegon in the third part of my Genetics of Dragons and War series. Bloodraven did everything he could to stop Blackfyres from taking power, and even went to the Wall over it. He is certainly a barrier to the Aegon cause. So what evidence do we have that the Aegon cause has hired some faceless men? Well, in part 1 we talked about how Arya was hidden from the Sea Lord when she entered Braavos. This seems to show that the Faceless Men are acting in opposition to the status quo of Braavos. And in part 3 we talked about how Arya was used to mess up relations between the Iron Bank and the Lannisters. The Sea Lord, by the way, was representing the Iron Bank in these talks. Messing up these talks was a clear immediate advantage for Aegon. It should be noted that the Iron Bank and status quo of Braavos also seems to support Stannis, another opponent of Aegon. Another clue that the Aegon cause has hired the Faceless Men is payment. Jaqen shows up in Oldtown with a gold dragon that is a Targaryen three-headed dragon on one side, and a king that Pate did not know on the other. The three-headed Targaryen dragon shows that the coin dated from at least the days of Aerys, but really, considering that Pate didn't know the king, probably much earlier. Now, a king like Robert, wanting legitimacy and hating Targaryens, would probably melt down and reissue as much currency as possible, and would continue to do so throughout his 17-year reign. This means that this coin was not only old, but was likely out of circulation for quite a while. Blind Arya finds similar money in the House of Black and White. A young man comes in and kills himself, carrying 4 dragons. Arya rubs one of the coins, and like Pate with his dragon, cannot determine which king is on its face. Keep in mind, differentiating coins is one of the first things they teach Arya when she becomes blind, so the fact that she's stumped is rather telling. The coin is worn, so we know the king on the front is neither Tommen nor Joffrey. And differentiating Aerys from Robert should be easy, as a Robert coin would have a one-headed dragon on the back, and an Aerys coin would have a three-headed dragon on the back. We don't know who this king is, but he likely predates the reign of Aerys. Like with Pate, this is likely old, uncirculated money. Now, considering that Jaqen is still in Oldtown, it seems almost certain that Arya's gold dragon is not Pate's gold dragon. This means that on 2 separate occasions, someone paid the House of Black and White with old currency that had long not been in circulation. Now yes, it's entirely possible that some random person had a large stash of old, uncirculated Westerosi cash, but old currency points to Westerosi who haven't been in Westeros for a while. Like exiles. House Blackfyre and its supporters would likely have old Targaryen coins. One other thing that points to the Aegon cause's involvement is Arya's mission as the ugly little girl. Arya is tasked with killing a man who insures ships. Arya is told that this man made bad on an insurance claim, but we actually have no proof of this. The kindly man may be lying, or the man who prayed to the House of Black and White may have prayed a lie. One thing that's larger than this man, though, is the insurance industry. Insurance is supposed to save someone after a major incident. However, now an insurer is dead. So what happens to his agreements? In our world, when insurance companies go out of business, we have reinsurance and government bailouts. We aren't sure how the city of Braavos works, but it seems like a precarious situation. We know that Arya's target served Westerosi, so a number of Westerosi ships may now be uninsured. If those ships are destroyed, a lot of houses may be financially ruined. And one mystery house seems to be the most at risk. Just in the short time that Arya was doing reconnaissance, she spots a man doing business 3 times with the insurer. We aren't sure what house he's from, but his belt has stars and moons on it. Now, I've been through all the sigils, and the only sigil that comes close to this is House Tarth. House Tarth's sigil are moons and suns quartered. Suns aren't quite stars, well, actually they're precisely stars, but not for the purpose of sigils. But nonetheless, when Arya observed them, she might have thought they were stars. Tarth is an island, so they have plenty of ships, and their ships weren't at the Battle of the Blackwater, so they should still be around. The point of all of this is I'm saying there's a good chance that House Tarth now has uninsured ships. And when Aegon landed in Westeros, one of the first places he took was Tarth. If Aegon's forces destroyed or stole Selwyn's ships, House Tarth may be financially ruined and at the mercy of Aegon. But even setting Tarth aside, uninsured ships are less likely to be used. When captains are called up to fight Aegon, they're less likely to go. And the murder of one man that insured Westerosi may influence others not to insure Westerosi. But if the Faceless men are being used by the Aegon cause to kill off their enemies and facilitate their invasion, why is Arya so important? After all, whatever Jaqen was up to, he completely altered his plans in order to go back to Harrenhal and find Arya. Well, we'll talk about Arya's importance in Part 5.